Dorrit, when Steena talks about worship her in her book, what was coming up for you?
What was coming up for me was that we all need to worship our feminine side. We all need to be proud of being women. I mean, there is so much shaming going on, so much body shaming, and um, we are always considered to be the lesser sex, I feel, and not putting ourselves up there as the amazing, wonderful beings that we are. We are created uniquely to be able to care and give birth and do several things at the same time, and and just be magnificent. That's a fine word in English when I can speak English. And just embrace the femininity. That includes our sexuality too, because I mean, we are often taught to hide it and be ashamed of it, and you know, not it's not happening. Like my mom used to say, that's something you do in the dark with the lights off under the duvets, like you just it just happens under there. And what's that all about? I mean, it's so much more than that. It's something beautiful between two people that has an attraction to each other. So that all of that came up from Steena's book. I've read some of it, but not all of it, I have to admit, because, well, my mind has been a little bit preoccupied with today's event. But I'm going back to read it all, Steena. Be sure of it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorrit. You brought up some really good things, and yeah, especially around sexuality and well, just this idea that previous generations have had this idea that things needed to be kept secret and that we need to bury our emotions. We need to do things in the dark where others don't see us. And God forbid we should speak about it in a public setting. And, I think we've all come to the realization that that doesn't serve us well anymore. And there's nothing to be ashamed of when we want to talk about sex and when we want to be intimate and when we want to have conversations about that. I'm a huge advocate for sharing a conversation. It's really that lack of conversations that leads to that lack of education and that lack of awareness and confidence. And so I'm with you, Dorrit. I'm in a space now in my life, and certainly having a daughter myself, where I want those things to come to the surface. Let's just be authentic. Let's just be real, because that's where the magic unfolds. Oh, I got goosebumps when I said that. Great conversation.
Really quick, Dora, I love what you said. And I was laughing a little bit because I didn't mention sexuality at all. And then that came up for her, which I loved. In the book, I define sexuality as who you are and how you relate to other people. And I really look forward to a world where the way we look at our sexuality and our identities is so much more dynamic than what it is now. We're still so binary in so many ways. Everything's good or bad. It's accepted and appropriate and professional, or it's shameful. And just one little funny story. I stopped wearing a bra years ago. Like I don't have large breasts. I don't need the bra anyways, really. And it was getting uncomfortable. I couldn't find ones that fit well. Like, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going without. And at first it felt like when you first have your period, you think everyone's going to know. Like, every boy that looks at you knows you're on your period. And no one knows. No one knows. And I felt the same way, like not wearing a bra was like felt like the most scandalous thing that I could be doing. And on one hand, I don't know that everyone notices or cares, you know, no one's ever said anything to me about it. And yet I am so comfortable with myself now that the idea that someone would find that unusual or would notice is bizarre to me. And I feel like that's such a example of like what it really feels like to be unapologetic and to release that shame. Like you, Jen, you and Dorrit are both talking about like bringing these things into the light. It's like you get to a point where it's just normal for you, and the idea that someone else would think it's not is bizarre, you know, where we're like, no, we're doing this a new way. So I really liked what you said.
And with the new energy of the world, I know that my daughter and my son are growing up in a world that is so much more forward thinking, so much more open than my generation was, for sure. And I love having these deeper conversations with my adult children now as well. And I'm at times I can fire hose them. It's like I have to share all my knowledge with you, because what happens if I'm not here tomorrow? Right? And so I'm with you. Conversations are just they can just start a lot of education, that deeper knowing. So I think it's so important for us to bring these issues to the light. And thank you for writing your book, Steena, and for bringing that to the light as well. It's so important to worship ourselves, especially knowing that many of us have been raised to not know ourselves well, and to kind of shy away from just certain things about our feminine selves. So thank you for bringing that to the light.